One of England's greatest ever batsmen has announced his retirement from international cricket.
Cook drives this time, he's beaten the infield, the ball's racing towards the boundary square of the wicket, and Alastair Cook becomes England's all-time leading run scorer in the history of Test cricket.
Yes, Alastair Cook will call time on his England career after the fifth Test against India, which starts on Friday. In a statement, Cook said he can retire with a big smile on my face, knowing I've given everything and there's nothing left in the tank.
It'd been on my mind for about 12 months, I suppose. I think obviously giving up the captaincy is kind of the start of that.
Had that worked, playing and not being captain?
Yeah, well, I thought it had. It worked okay. I hope I wasn't an issue for Rooty. Obviously trying to give him space and as a new captain to grow into the role, to get his ideas across the team. And there was a couple of times where he would have spoken, and I probably would have disagreed with what he was saying. But so I had to bite my tongue and just let. No, you do.
Yeah.
And that would have been the only times I probably found it a little bit awkward, where he was saying stuff and actually I thought possibly we should go down a slightly different route. But I had my time as captain, so that was kind of the thing. I really enjoyed playing without the pressure and the stress of captaincy. I did it for 50 odd games, so it was quite nice to set back into that role. But I suppose as time went on, I think probably all that captaincy, all the stuff which happens in a career, kind of wore you down. And I felt it was time to step away at some stage.
And can you remember, was there an absolute definitive moment where you thought, right, that's it, I'm going to pull the plug on this now?
Well, New Zealand tour, after the Ashes, we obviously went back out to New Zealand. I remember speaking to Chris Silverwood, who was then the assistant coach, a couple of times about it. So he was kind of the first person to kind of get my, to know that I was kind of wavering. And he was like, just go home. Well, see, I don't know whether it's because New Zealand, you're miles away from home or whatever. I didn't score any runs in those 2 Test matches. And he said, just go home, have a month away from it and see. And I felt a bit re-energised after that. But I suppose you top up a little bit and then you come down again. And I knew halfway through that India series that that was going to be the end of it this summer.
Right. And Alice? When did she start getting involved in this?
Well, she didn't really until... until the famous text messages I sent her. So I made my decision at Trent Bridge after I was out in the second innings. The runs weren't, obviously were helping. I wasn't scoring any runs, but it was almost irrelevant for me. Even if I was scored 100 there, what I was thinking, what I was experiencing, I kind of knew that it was time. And
in what way though? Because people were saying, "What you weren't an old lag hanging on in there." I mean, you scored all these thousands of runs, no one scored more. Why? What is it actually that makes you think that, or makes you know, actually, I've had enough, I can't carry on?
Well, I just wasn't feeling that same buzz to play for England and have that same drive as I once had. And then it's kind of that moment you admit to yourself that it is, and you're kind of intrigued what other stuff life could happen or in your life and kind of the next part of it. But it was just that little bit of an edge in my mind. I felt. Yeah, I just felt it, and that was it. So I kind of made the decision during that Trent Bridge Test match, and I went back to the hotel to go and tell Alice this was my decision. And a lot of the times where you're kind of down in the dumps and you're not scoring runs and you have a few of the poor me moments. It's like Alice was very good at just kind of giving me a kick up the backside, say go and have a beer. Then go training and go and hit some balls and stop feeling sorry for yourself and go and score some runs. It's like kick up the backside, that kind of thing. So I was kind of half dreading telling her, thinking she was going to say the same thing again.
So you did it by text?
But I did it by text because, well, you know me. Anyway, so the family are up and she was very heavily pregnant with, was then our third child, which obviously didn't know boy or girl, but it turned out to be Jack. And we ended up just watching the In-Betweeners movie that night, and I bottled it that night. We were laughing away at his In-Betweeners, like one of those just silly. We'd seen it a couple of times before, and I just thought, I don't want to not ruin. I don't have to have an argument or she say you got to carry on, do this, and then we have that discussion there. So I left it because I was having a really nice evening, a couple of beers and whatever, and then the next morning I got to the ground, and you meant to hand your phone in, but I was just like, do you know what, this is. I've got to do it. So I sent a text message, obviously trying to word it right. On WhatsApp, you see the typing thing, don't you?
Yep.
You see Alice was typing. I was like, almost dreading the reply. In one sense, if it's this when you're so convinced, and then you just Well, it seemed like 5-10 minutes, but so I was expecting this long essay back, and she just said, "I know," and I was just like, "Oh, all right." And then I went, that was it. I was like, so she obviously, she's not silly, and she obviously, when you know someone quite well, you spend a lot of time with them. She obviously saw signs and probably just didn't bring it up, as didn't want to. Yeah. Like, I suppose, put thoughts in my mind or whatever. So,
can you remember what you'd said in the first place? When you said that, I've decided I'm going to quit.
Yeah,
what
I suppose I could probably scroll through and actually find the text message in one sense, but
it was short and it was to
yeah,
the
it
point.
was. Yeah, it was like it wouldn't have been very, very long. And then actually, I told Jimmy that afternoon, and sometimes you tell someone something, and you almost wish you hadn't said it. It was almost like I was very interesting, because only at that stage, obviously I knew, and obviously Alice knew. I thought telling a close friend, a guy I played a lot of cricket with, I wonder whether I'd regret saying it, because once someone knows like that, that's it. It's kind of like whatever happened, even if I changed my mind, he would always know I had that kind of conversation. So, and when I said it to him, like, there was none of that. That was not just more relief. Actually, that was the first time, and he was just like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, man. It's sad, but I just know it's right." And then
He didn't try and talk you out of it.
No. I did it on the balcony in the middle of a game, so it's very hard to. With the Trent Bridge, there's only two of us there, so it would any time someone could have walked back into the thing. Yeah, and then obviously it was like a matter of organising how to do it, I suppose, in the right way without being egotistical and having a big fanfare. Like, I didn't really want that, but you end up, well, actually, what other way of doing it? There's no other way of doing it, really. There's a few question marks about my place in the team. So got to Southampton, kept it really quiet. Southampton told Broady, like, before the game, and Rooty, so I went to play golf with Rooty. I think Rooty knew. I said, let's play, at Southampton, the golf course behind the hotel. Let's go and play 9 holes. He's like, "Come on then, what's happening?" It's on the first hole. I think I must have been over a 3-foot putt or something, trying to put me off. But he just said, like, he knew as well. So that was it. And I just the only thing I didn't want was it to get out. I don't like it's amazing how many leaks or what, every story seems to come out the day before it should come out. I knew as captain, all this stuff. So the only thing I wanted to be in control of it. I don't know why. I just didn't want any rumours to get out. I didn't want it to be, a headline somewhere before I told my mum and dad or whatever, and also told the team. So as only as Southampton, and fair play to everyone, that everyone kept it really quiet until, I suppose, I think you announced it, didn't you?
I can tell you that Alistair Cook has just announced that he'll retire from international cricket at the end of this season. No one's played more times, but 160 tests. He scored more runs, more than 12,000, captained England more often or played more tests consecutively than Cook. He scored 32 hundreds, 5 of them double hundreds, and as captain he led England to 2 Ashes wins.
But you told a journalist. You trusted a journalist at Southampton.
Well, now knowing you and all the tricks you've played on me, I shouldn't have told you. I told you in dinner. We went for dinner, and we.
Well, we did, because I think I sort of knew, and I remember I met you. It was the day before the match, and we were chatting in the pitch, and I said, "Come on, let's go and have some dinner if you've got time." Because I think guess can't you can see you, and actually to be fair,
you've been around a lot.
You did trust me, and so we did sit on it, and I wasn't surprised, I must say. It just seemed that it was the right sort of a time to do it. So then they've got this whole process, because you're right. I mean, you've got. I mean, it just becomes the big finale then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that is pressure.
Well, I mean, what happened? Obviously, told the lads at Southampton, and then Jimmy and I went back via Straussy to tell Straussy. Just again, I can't remember if he was still director of cricket or not, but Ruth wasn't very well. So it was one of those we'd like to go and see on the way home. We stopped in to go. I can't remember if Straussy was still in charge.
I think he was.
I think he must have been, for me to think. So me and Jimmy went to go and see him and tell him as well.
Was he expecting it?
I don't know.
No.
I mean, I think he probably had. Well, I know he had a lot of other things on his mind, because we all know how that panned out. But I went to see him, and then Jimmy and I played golf, and I think you read it out, didn't you?
Yes.
There.
Here's his statement. After much thought and deliberation over the last few months, I've decided to announce my retirement from international cricket at the end of this Test series against India. Although it's a sad day, I can do so with a big smile on my face, knowing I've given everything and there's nothing left in the tank. I've achieved more than I could ever have imagined and feel very privileged to have played for such a long time alongside some of the greats of the English game. The thought of not sharing the dressing room again with some of my teammates was the hardest part of my decision, but I know the timing is right. I've loved cricket my whole life from playing in the garden as a child and will never underestimate how special it is to pull on an England shirt. So I know it's the right time to give the next generation of young cricketers their turn to entertain us and feel the immense pride that comes with representing your country. There are too many people to thank individually, but a special mention must go to the Barmy Army and all supporters for their constant encouragement for the team, and also a special mention to Graham Gooch. As a 7-year-old, I queued for his autograph outside Essex County Cricket Club and years later was so fortunate to have him mentoring me. Graham was my sounding board, especially in the early years of my career, spending hour after hour throwing balls at me with his dog stick. He made me realise you always need to keep improving whatever you're trying to achieve. My family and I have had 12 wonderful years fulfilling my dreams, and this couldn't have been done without them. So I wish to thank my parents, my brothers, my wife Alice and her family for the quiet, unwavering support behind the scenes. As cricketers who travel frequently, we often don't realise just how important our families are to our success. I'd also like to thank Essex for their help and support ever since I was 12, and I can't wait to get fully involved with them in the 2019 season. So he is going to carry on playing for Essex for a year or two, who knows quite for how long, but basically Alistair Cook, England's longest serving player, captain and everything else, is announced that this next Test match starting on Friday will be his last one.
And then from that moment, it was... I found it uncomfortable. I've got a great photo of me and Jimmy playing golf, and it'd been announced the next day. So it was on the papers, and there was a picture of me saying, England legend calls it a day. I'm not calling myself a legend. That was just a headline. I'm reading it at Woburn Golf Course, and Jimmy takes a photo and snaps it. And said, the one thing I like about Cookie, he had no ego whatsoever. And I thought it was quite funny. So I enjoyed that bit. And then Ed Smith rang me and said, do you want to play this game? And I was like, well, yeah, I think I do. I do want to play this game. But then I suppose in your mind, as it always does when you're processing stuff like this, oh God, the whole week's going to be about me. It's going to be, brilliant in one way, and I'll enjoy it. But also, what if I don't score runs? What if I don't do well? It's embarrassing. Then that dawned on me that everyone's texting me saying as if I died. I suppose it's like actually one person did text me saying, "Are you dead?" All this nice stuff people are writing about you, and. It doesn't matter what you do in this game. What's
the point? What's the worst thing that could have happened?
Well, you got a pair.
Yes.
Would
that have been awful?
I mean, looking back now, probably not.
Don Bradman got naught.
I know, but looking back now, when it's all of unfortunately a bit of irrelevance, isn't it? It's just a game of cricket. It probably is but there's that personal pride, isn't there? That's that. The ovations I got walking down the stairs and all that stuff was spectacular. But did I take him in? No, because I was so focused on trying to score some runs.
And down the stairs come the two England openers, Keaton Jennings, but in front, Alistair Cook. And listen to the crowd. What a reception! Everyone on their feet. A wonderful cheer for Alistair Cook. The Indians are lined up, and Alistair Cook walks between them all. They're applauding, and Keaton Jennings actually goes round the side. That's a nice gesture. Virat Kohli shakes Alistair Cook by the hand, and the two openers who travelled here on the underground together today punch gloves, and now battle can commence. But that's a lovely reception. It really is. It's interesting that clearly part of the reason he gave up was the pressure of it all and the relentlessness of opening the batting for England and so on. And yet by choosing to play in that game, you've actually heaped a load more on yourself.
But obviously it worked out okay in the end, and it was a really good finale for it, for me, and the closure and everything. So
the first innings, you're batting nicely actually.
Yeah,
71.
Yeah, and then I think Bumrah got me out, didn't he?
Bumrah bowls to him. He's bowled him! Bumrah's got through. India have their second wicket, and no Cook 100 today in his final Test match. He's battled out there, and he's produced his highest score of the summer, but it will not be three figures. Alistair Cook walks off and they're standing up around the Oval and applauding him.
I thought that was my opportunity gone. You know, like, if I'm totally honest with you, like...
But would you settle for that, though, actually?
Yeah, I would have done, but there was that bit inside me, like, when I sat down and got out thinking, you know, I had a chance there to do something quite special. And that was my moment. I got in and, you know, I did all the hard yards. And I suppose probably that kind of made it, the decision, like, right, kind of easy in my mind. I was thinking, that's probably what I'm missing, like, the ability to go on and score 100 or whatever, and so that kind of stuff. It was nice, the ovations, but there was, as always, as cricket ends in disappointment, doesn't it? So it was like the disappointment of it was there.
Were you sort of counting down the days of the game as well? Thinking, I've only got 2 days left. Oh, I've only got 1 day left.
No, I apart from obviously, you know, I just tried to enjoy it. I tried to, apart from the extra scrutiny, the interviews before, and, you know, I suppose the unwanted attention, which I knew was going to happen. I'm not being silly. I just tried to enjoy the game, made sure every night I had some beers in the dressing room. Really, I took in the kind of the moment, except when I was batting. That makes sense.
Yeah. All right, the family, because they were all there, and they're obviously, and Alice particularly, but your parents as well. They've all been such a part of all of this as well. I mean, and your brother. I mean, were they all saying goodbye to something as well? Could you feel them sort of being emotionally attached to the whole thing?
I don't know. I've never really asked them that question. I just think they had a good 5 days. It's, you know, the support I had from my family throughout the 12 was unrelenting. The 12 years, the years before I played cricket, was the quiet, unrelenting support. I never had, you know, my mum and dad never did an interview. Alice never did an interview. Which
I tried to persuade her on.
And actually, that probably one time, now looking back, I'm sad that she didn't, because I think she would have interviewed quite well. And be on TMS, which I think she would have quite enjoyed.
She was so close. I just slipped from my grasp.
But yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they miss coming up and watching and whatever. But it was great for the kids, like Elsie. Elsie, whether she remember Isabel, she was 2, so I doubt it. But you know, you hope they do it now. Actually, now coming to Essex, they love it. You know, coming to watch, put the Essex shirt on, Essex cap on, and you know they know some of the players, you know, and they really enjoy coming to watch.
But Alice, I mean, for the wives and girlfriends, I mean, there is that kind of sort of relationship all going on there that she would now be removed from. Yeah,
look, it's a massive change of lifestyle, isn't it?
Yes.
In life and at a young age. It's most people in their lives, you know, everything kind of moves in kind of a steady slope upwards with promotions and this, and then kind of one way it's like a massive cut in. It's a fairly brutal thing. That's why I carried on playing for Essex, and you know, have really enjoyed that bit. So yeah, I mean, it's a big change for Alice, big change for us as a family, but yeah.
So second innings, walking out, you've got your 71 tucked away, so you've got something in the bank. Was that what you were thinking?
No, I mean, actually the game was quite evenly poised, actually, and it was a really good cricket wicket, because if you missed your length, you could score, but if you got it right, there was a little bit of nip. And I reckon in that second innings, I played and missed about 20 times at the luckless Mohammad Shami, and then laughed as I hit one. But India came really hard at us because they dragged themselves back into that game. I think Jadeja got a few, didn't he?
Yes.
Like towards the end, and we were only 40 ahead after probably looking like we're going to get a bigger lead than that. And it was really tough, and I really enjoyed it. But what I kept saying in my mind was, don't make this your last ball. I just repeated that every innings until,
really?
You know, ironically, until I got out that last ball. But that's all I kept saying, don't make his last ball. So we fought really hard, and me and Keaton fought really hard just before tea, and then I think he got out, and me and Moen, we scrapped hard until tea, and then Ruti came in. Obviously he changed the momentum a little bit, but the only place I got really nervous, I suppose, was the last half an hour of that day, because I'd organised a box for all my friends to come down, like from the farms and from school or whatever, and I thought it'd be really sad if they, you know, came down, and I never thought they would see me bat, especially when you win the toss and bat. You're not normally batting on day 4, are you, on the first game. So I thought that was kind of gone, but suddenly there was this opportunity to do it, and I was like, right, really dig in here, really concentrate, and don't make a mistake. Like the Gucci, don't make a mistake. And so the last 20 minutes, I was, just really focusing on trying. It'd be nice for them to experience me batting my last game.
So they've helped you focus in a way.
Yeah, they did, but it made me a little nervous because I felt like I was playing for them, if that makes sense, playing it for them. But yeah, luckily, I think Ruti faced the majority of the last 2 or 3 overs just the way it happened. So I didn't have too many balls. And I remember him last ball of the day, he got a single, sprinted trying to get back for the 2. like, it could have been a 2, but I was having none of it. I literally just jogged down, shouted no like that, because I didn't want to face the first ball the next day, because I knew that would be quite like an emotional thing, and the big build up and all that kind of stuff. And then again, I think I was on 40 yard and don't get out first. I didn't want to get out the first ball in the morning, and everything's a massive anticlimax. So I thought I'll just let Rooty have the first one in the morning.
So, I mean, the ovations all the way through. I mean, the crowd was willing you away. The next day, it was just every little milestone. It's standing ovations. It was exhausting watching it. What else we'd like playing?
Right, Cook is on his way, coming down ahead of Jennings at the far end of the ground. Let's have a look around the ground. Everyone standing up and applauding Alistair Cook as he makes his way out to bat for England for the final time. And a huge roar as well. Normally reserved for a player who's made a double 100. Punch of the gloves with Jennings. Really strange moment for any cricketer. Roared to the wicket, and he hasn't scored a run yet.
In he goes, bowls to Cook, a silence as he works that away. As a good stroke, that's 4. Speeding away over the square, and people are standing down there as Alistair Cook reaches his second half century of the match in his final test. And I'll tell you what, it's a lovely shot to bring it up to one of his trademark strokes off his pads. He's 51 not out. He wants more, but there's the first landmark.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was very surreal moments, and I suppose because I seem to be batting a fair bit in that game, there's lots of coming off at lunch, walking out again to a brilliant thing. And that's one of the things that England players are very lucky with, is the support that we get. And I think that week really humbled me. It actually felt like the genuine support through your career. You always have tough moments, don't you? Like we lost 5-0 twice in Australia. You lost so many games, had some really tough games of cricket for England, had a bit of a tough period as a batsman, as captain, and you feel as if people wanted you to fail a bit. You don't know if they want you still to be kept. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know, do you, when you're in that moment? And as quite rightly so, you want England to win, and you just don't know generally, do you? Like, are you well liked? But I think that one time at the end, it kind of was appreciation. What I went through as an opening batsman in England, as of my career.
Yeah. So when do you start really thinking I could finish with 100 here?
I think so. Going into day 4, it was like, just get in again. Let's just get in. Actually, someone texted say 4. He needed 4 or something to average 45. I was like, right, let's try and get 4 then. And then, but I just kept on saying, don't make this your last ball. As I said, don't make this your last ball. And I got to, I suppose, 75. Went past Sangakkara, and then that was a big cloud. I went to Rooty and I said, I didn't know about that. Obviously, I did. I was like, I didn't actually know how many runs I needed, but he was laughing. And then getting to the 80s, I was like, right, this is it. This is my one opportunity. This is the last opportunity you have a chance to.
Yeah. And how did that feel? And how does it feel counting down to that 100 then?
Well, again, I suppose that game kind of summed up my career in one sense, that for all the other stuff going on, in whatever, away from the game or at the game, whatever, the majority of the time, not all the time, it sounds like when you look back, you always felt like this when you're batting, but I had the ability to park a lot of the other stuff and just focus very singly minded and very isolated on just one instant, which is that one ball coming down, and that's all I did. And the 100's there, it's getting closer, the opportunity to get closer. But the skill is not to look at the end goal, is it? It's to keep yourself in the present all the time, keep it going. That kind of relentless nature of it, and that's, I suppose, that's all I did really. And until you get really close, and then you start playing. Like I'm going to go a little bit off tangent here, because I never got 100 against Australia in England, and not that it matters, but it frustrated me that I never did. Yeah. And I got to 96. At Lords, they got millions, and we were grinding away, and I was properly grinding away. I got to 96 and the 79th over or 78th over, and Mitchell Marshall's bowling. And I thought, the new ball's round the corner. I'm going to get it before the new ball. And I aimed a big, expansive drive, got an inside edge on the thing. And, you know, however many games I'd played then, it was 2015, I looked too far ahead.
Right.
And it was a massive learner for me. It's like, what? And I walked off, and I'm doing, like, why was I worried about the new ball? That's like, you know, getting nicked off by the new ball. I was like, well, no. And then actually, ironically, you know, the first ball of the second, of my second innings, there was a leg stump half volley of the new ball, which I hit it for 4. I was just like, if that ever just proves to you, you just got to try and stay in the moment. So, yeah, that's all I did. All I did in the 90s. And then, you know, you get close, and I was like, no, just play it. Don't make it your last ball.
And that moment, I mean, because it was bizarre, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How it came about.
Brilliant. I mean, I suppose it's fitting as Bumrah, because he kind of caused me so much trouble since he came back into that side at Trent Bridge and at Southampton. So, yeah, I just, as of Jadeja, like, don't cut the ball coming in, but I felt okay to do it and just knocked out for one. You know, quite similar field, I suppose, you know, with that deep point out for the protection, because I'd been scoring a few through the offside, and I just hit it for one, right? 90. I think it was that would take me to 97, I think. That's like, one more.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see the throw. I didn't see the throw. I was just jogging in. I'm not the quickest between the wickets. And then just Ruti said, get in, because obviously, because I was dawdling, encouraged Bumrah to throw it. Then you turn around, and all I can then see, I didn't actually see the ball go past me, is Ruti going run or something, and then I looked and see Pujara, my favourite fielder ever chasing a ball.
Quite slow.
Thinking, well, you ain't getting that. And
No.
you know from that very instant that
Yeah.
you've kind of got that 100.
Moves to 97. The crowd applauding. Oh, there's overthrows. Oh my word, that's going to run away to the boundary. It is. Cook's done it. He's reached his 100 in his final Test match. What an astounding achievement for England's leading run scorer of all time. He takes his helmet off. The crowd go berserk. What a way to get to it. He got to 100 at the Oval like that years ago against Pakistan. He's done it again now in his last match. He's embraced warmly by Joe Root. What a magnificent moment. And the crowd just giving waves and waves of applause. Everyone on their feet. Well, you couldn't write it, could you? A 50 and 100 in his first Test. A 50 and 100 in his last. I think this applause may go on till lunchtime, actually.
Wow, what a moment for Cook. What was so nice to see as well, Joe Root noticed earlier that the ball was going for overthrows, and he celebrated. And then once they both saw each other, it was an embrace. Both family, all family are here, wife, children. Very special moment indeed.
Wow. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this at the Oval. And I don't think they want to stop. They'll just keep going, I think. As well they may. It's not the way you'd expect to get to 100. He's waving his bat again. It's like an encore in a theatre. I think he's trying to get the crowd now to calm down and let Root have a go. But they don't want to stop. They're just going to go on clapping.
And the feeling, I mean...
Yeah, probably the most emotional I ever, I suppose, got close to in that moment, just because of the reaction, the kind of the dream finish. And yeah, I mean, it was very humbling, very humbling. It took forever, didn't it, for the next ball? And I remember walking down to Ruti, don't get out on it, concentrate, please, buddy. You know, don't, because he then had to face, because we shot 5, so I was at the non-strikers, and then, I mean, it was like this constant noise. It was very, very special.
That's twice overthrows have come to, not your rescue exactly, but I mean, they played
I don't think it rescued me. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, defined it. The one, I mean, the one you're talking about, the one in the Oval here again, aren't you? With the
with that century that scored against Pakistan, when people was literally saying, "I'm not sure that you should be picked for Australia." Yeah.
Yeah, and played a nice defensive shot to Mohamed Asif, and he just
hurled it for 4.
threw it over the keeper's head. It was lovely.
Did you think about at any stage about changing your mind? Because the way you'd finished, and you still proved that you could play, obviously, that you were good enough. Did it ever cross your mind?
No, not during that game. No, I think it was. You know me pretty well, that once you make a decision, I'm fairly stubborn. And actually, part of my success, a lot of my success is down to that. So a lot of my failings are probably down to that as well. But no, it was, very clear clear to me.
It was a dream come true, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so special and such a defining way to finish.
And Alistair Cook is out for 147. Immediately the Indians run up and they shake him by the hand. And the Oval crowd, all 18,000, are on their feet. That was just so unexpected. And the Indians are all queuing up now to say well done. And Johnny Bairstow, the new batsman, runs down to slap him on the shoulder. Well, there we go. We didn't know when it was going to happen. We knew it would happen. Oh, there we go. We get the full flourish of the bat. He turned, and in a slightly gladiatorial way, although he's never an exaggerator of things, Alistair Cook. Understated, I would say. But yet, when you know him, you know actually that's very heartfelt. He scored his 100. That's the big news here today. And now it's a chance for people just to say thank you. And that kind of crowns it all, is it? I mean, there you go. It's done.
Yeah, it is done. But what a game of cricket!
Alistair, I'm going to. This is. I don't think it'll be our last interview.
No,
I hope not.
I hope not.
But thank you for everything that you've done for all of us too, and all the listeners. I think the reaction, the response, and the feel of warmth that you must have from everybody must have been quite overwhelming, wasn't it?
Yeah, it has just been one of the great weeks.